This question is ultimately asking us to determine the rule for the relationship which has these values. Now, first of all, it's asking us to plot the points and then start plotting my x squared and my x cubed relationships and using that to try and work out what my rule is. So the first thing I need to do is I need to enter these values in the statistics part of the calculator. So I'm going to make a column X with my values 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. I'll make a column of Y with my values of 2.5, 10 and so on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot this graph. Now, you may not always be told whether it's x squared or x cubed, and there are a couple of ways around this. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch this and see what it looks like. So I'm going to go to my graph button. I'm going to ask for an XY plot. That draws a line. That sort of helps us a little bit. And then I'm going to do X and Y and sketch that. And if you see, it comes up with a sort of a curvy line. So if I was going to show an approximate sketch for part A, it would look something like this. Now, seeing that's a curvy line, that's going to be part of either an x squared or an x cubed graph. So the question now asks us to show which one of those ultimately gives a straight line. Because remember, when I get a straight line, that means that I'm able to use that to work out what my axis is. So whether it's x squared or x cubed, that's the time when my line becomes a straight line, and that brings us much joy and happiness. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find out all my x squared points. So I'll do x squared in the box here, and my calculation will be x squared. And now I have all these x squared points here. What I'll do now is I'll sketch this and see if I get a straight line. So back I go to my xy line, and my new x is going to be x squared. And then I set that and I sketch that, and look, here is a perfectly straight line. So for part B, what ends up happening is I get, for my x squared, remember that's the name of my axis now, and my y, I end up getting a beautifully wonderful straight line. So let's show the straight line there. Looks like that. Now, for the next part, it asks for the x cubed graph. So we know that the x cubed graph is going to look something like this. Here are my axes. Remember, my axis here is going to be called x cubed, and this one's y. And I'm going to find my points by finding an x cubed. I'm not allowed to use XC, so let's use CU for cubed as the title, and let's put our equation in as x cubed, and here are my numbers, and again sketching a graph that has my x cubed and my y, and hitting OK. And now I see that this isn't curved. So the fact that it's not curved tells me that this isn't the best relationship, and that this one is the best relationship. Because this gives me a straight line, the x squared gives me a straight line, I know that my x squared relationship is going to be the right one. And that tells me my relationship will be something y equals kx squared. That means now I've used my relationship to determine my rule here as y equals kx squared. I know that. The last thing I need to do, though, is I need to use a point where I can substitute my numbers in to find out my value of k. So I'm going to use, for no good reason, this point here at 2 and 10. So when x equals 2, y equals 10, and my rule becomes, this becomes 10, so my y is 10, is k times 2 squared. And now I'm going to solve for k. And if I go to the main part here and I say 10 equals k times 2 squared, and I solve for k, I find out that k equals 2.5. Now if k equals 2.5 and my rule is y equals k squared, then my final answer will be y equals 2.5 x squared. And that's my rule. Now that's going a long way about it, and if I need to show all this working out, that's what I have to do. But there is an easier way to solve this, and I'm going to show you that now. The easy way is to use the numbers that you're given in the XY table. So let's go to my XY table again. Here's the X and here's the Y. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to use a function on the calculator that's very, very easy. We go to Calc and then Regression again. Now you will have done this at the start of the year when you want to find the equation of a line. But next thing what we do is we'll go to Power Regression. When you do that, the calculator works out what the most likely type of relationship is. When my X column is X and my Y column, all we need to do is give the old values. The calculator sorts through and says the best relationship in this form, so here it says my relationship is of the form y equals ax to the power of b, tells me that for this example, a equals 2.5 and b equals 2. So if a equals 2.5 and b equals 2, and it takes this format, then when I substitute my numbers in, I'm going to get y equals 2.5x squared. And wouldn't you know it, this answer and this answer are exactly the same. So there are the two ways I can find the equation of a line given a few points, and then using either the shape of the graph to determine what the relationship is, or using the power regression function on the calculator.